Hey there! Ready to dive into the world of soy milk? It's more interesting than you might think. Let's unpack the latest research and see what's really going on.
From its ancient origins to its potential benefits for our gut, maybe even our brains, we're covering it all.
You know, it's funny. We think of plant-based as a new thing, but soy milk goes way back, like ancient China back in the Han Dynasty.
It's a resurgence, really, driven by a few things. Ethical concerns with dairy, the environment, and of course, people just trying to eat better.
Yeah, everyone's health conscious these days. And don't forget, a huge chunk of people, like two-thirds of the world, are lactose intolerant to some degree. So for many, soy milk isn't a choice, it's essential.
Exactly. And when you compare it to cow's milk, nutritionally, it's impressive. Soy milk has a similar amount of protein, which is key for that post-workout recovery, helps rebuild those muscles.
Gym bag essential then, though I've always wondered, how do they even make soy milk? Is it complicated?
It's surprisingly straightforward. Soak soybeans, then grind them up with water, boil that mixture, which is key for taste and safety.
So that gets rid of any like raw bean flavor.
Exactly. Plus, it neutralizes an enzyme, trypsin inhibitor, that can mess with digestion. Then just filter that boiled mixture and boom, soy milk.
Simple process, tons of nutrition. Now, I know it's often lower in calories than cow's milk, but what about other nutrients? Any downsides?
Good point. Soy milk holds its own with protein, often lower in calories, but it does have this thing called phytic acid. And sometimes phytic acid can interfere with how our bodies absorb certain minerals.
Ah, so it's a trade-off, like most things in nutrition. Speaking of things our bodies process, let's talk digestion. Is it true soy milk is hard to digest?
Well, remember those sugars we mentioned? They can cause indigestion for some. This is where it gets cool. Fermenting soy milk can actually make it way easier to digest.
Okay, fermentation, like yogurt or kimchi, right. What's the science behind that, making it easier on our stomachs?
You got it. It's all about these little helpers, lactic acid bacteria, LAB for short. They're like friendly bacteria that break down those troublesome sugars. And get this, LAB fermentation doesn't just help with digestion, it also increases antioxidant activity.
Wow, bonus benefit. So easier on the gut plus more antioxidant power.
Exactly. There was even a study where they used this process to make a yogurt-like product from fermented soy and mung bean milk.
Mung bean milk, that's a new one. What happened? Did it work?
It did. The fermentation really increased the lactic acid, which is good. Plus, it changed the texture of the yogurt and significantly boosted its antioxidant activity.
Incredible. Fermented soy products have so much potential. We can't talk about soy, though, without addressing the rumors. Soy and hormones, especially testosterone in men. What does the science actually say?
Right, that's a common one. There's been research, and one study looked at dairy milk versus soy milk and their effects on men's hormones after resistance exercise.
So after a good workout, when lots of people reach for milk, what did they find? Did soy milk mess with those hormone levels?
Now, it was a small study, so we need more research before any big conclusions. But they found no big difference in those circulating sex hormones between the soy milk drinkers and the dairy milk guys after their workout.
Interesting. So this research challenges the idea that soy milk will negatively impact those hormones, at least in that situation.
Exactly. It shows why looking at the evidence is key, not just going with assumptions.
So true. Switching gears a bit, could soy milk actually be brain food?
It's a fascinating area of research. One study looked at a specific bacteria in some fermented soy products called L. plantarum Ku210152.
Okay, I'm hooked already. What's the connection with this bacteria and brain health?
Well, in the lab, this bacteria showed some pretty amazing protective effects on brain cells, actually helps shield them from damage.
Wait, you're saying this bacteria from fermented soy might protect our brain cells? That's huge.
Exciting stuff. But it's early research. We need more to confirm it and understand how it works.
For sure. But it shows how powerful food can be. It's not just about basic nutrition. It's about long-term, maybe even life-changing impacts on our health.
Precisely. And it's not just about single ingredients, but the synergy when we combine them in new ways. Which leads us to
taking soy milk to the next level. We're talking enhancing it with other beneficial stuff. Ever heard of adding matcha to soy milk?
matcha, with its bright green color and unique taste. It's everywhere these days. So researchers wanted to see its effects on soy milk. One study looked at what happens when you combine them, focusing on the impact on digestive enzymes and, of course, the taste.
Because even the healthiest drink is no good if it tastes awful.
Exactly. But before the taste test, the science. They found that matcha acts as a strong inhibitor of lipase, an enzyme that breaks down fat.
So potentially good if you're watching your fat intake.
Possibly. In this study, matcha didn't have much effect on starch digestion. But here's the kicker. It actually boosted the activity of some enzymes that help us digest protein.
Wow. So matcha in soy milk could mean slower fat digestion and a boost in protein breakdown. Now that's fascinating. Okay, the taste test. Did people actually like it?
Turns out, people preferred the soy milk with less matcha, so a little goes a long way for flavor and potential benefit.
Makes sense. Too much of a good thing and all that.
Finding that sweet spot.
Mm.
And speaking of blends, researchers didn't stop at matcha. They've looked at all sorts of additions to soy milk.
Really? Like what other surprising combos have they tried?
Get this, adding guava leaf powder or persimmon leaf powder during fermentation can increase the alpha-glucosidase inhibitory activity of soy milk.
Okay, gotta be honest, need a little help there. Remind me what that means.
Basically, those additions could help regulate blood sugar levels. Great news for those managing diabetes or watching their sugar intake.
Now, that's amazing. Turning soy milk into an even more powerful functional food. Any other surprises?
Absolutely. This one's interesting. Combining a certain seaweed called suganori with soy milk during fermentation actually led to the production of daidzein and genistein.
Those ring a bell. Refresh my memory. What are they and why should I care?
They're compounds found naturally in soybeans, and they're often called phytoestrogens.
Yo, okay, yeah, that word always sounds a little intimidating. What does it even mean? Why all the buzz?
Phytoestrogens are plant compounds, and they can kind of mimic estrogen in our bodies, but on a much smaller scale. But here's the thing. Even though they get lumped together, daidzein and genistein, those compounds we talked about, can actually act differently.
So we shouldn't just group all phytoestrogens together. They have their own unique properties. What's up with daidzein?
Daidzein is actually a precursor to something called equal, and equal has been linked to some pretty significant health benefits. But not everyone can convert daidzein to equal.
Interesting. So it's like a bonus feature only some people can access. What about genistein? What's so special about it?
Genestein's a pretty cool customer. It's being studied for its potential as an antioxidant, for fighting inflammation, and there's even research looking into possible anti-cancer properties. We do need more research to know for sure, but it's exciting stuff.
It's incredible that something as simple as adding seaweed during fermentation could lead to the production of these compounds with so much potential. So, after all this, where does soy milk stand in a healthy diet?
Well, I think it's safe to say that soy milk is a very versatile and potentially very beneficial plant-based alternative to cow's milk. So whether you choose it because of dietary preferences, for its health benefits, or just because you're curious, it's definitely worth exploring.
I totally agree. What's the most surprising thing you've learned about soy milk?
For me, it's got to be those potential brain-protecting effects of that L. plantarum Ku210152 bacteria. The idea that something in fermented soy products could actually help protect brain cells is incredibly promising and definitely something we should be looking into more.
I'm with you on that one. It really makes you think about just how powerful food can be. It's not just about what it does for us today, it's about the long-term, potentially life-altering effects it can have on our health.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not just about looking at individual ingredients in isolation. It's about the incredible synergy that can happen when you start combining them in new and creative ways, like the research on matcha and soy milk is a great example of that.
It really is. It's like this whole world of culinary possibilities opens up when we start to understand the science behind food pairing. We've only just scratched the surface of what we can do with plant-based alternatives like soy milk.
Right. The research on things like guava leaf powder, persimmon leaf powder, and seaweed is just the beginning.
Makes you wonder what other amazing ingredients are out there just waiting to be combined with plant-based milk to make even more delicious and beneficial options.
Exactly. Which leads us to a really important question. How can we use all of this knowledge to make good choices about our own diets?
Such a good point. We've learned so much about soy milk, but what does it all mean for us, for the listeners, every day? It's like we have a superpower now. We've got all this knowledge about soy milk, its history, and the nutrition, the potential benefits, even how to make it even better, and we can use that to make choices that work for us.
Exactly. Better digestion, supporting your brain, or just a tasty, healthy swap for dairy, soy milk has options.
I used to think it was just a simple substitute, but this deep dive, it's shown me how versatile it is. It's not one size fits all. It's an ingredient you can really make your own.
It really is. And that's what's so cool about the future of plant-based foods. So much room for innovation, really understanding how these ingredients work with our bodies.
So for our listener who's been on this soy milk journey with us today, what's the one thing you really hope they remember?
Don't be afraid to explore. Plant-based alternatives, they're not just for vegans or people with allergies. They can be the delicious and healthy part of any diet.
Couldn't agree more. Knowledge is power, right? The more we know about our food, the better choices we can make for our health and well-being.
Well said. Maybe our listener will try some of these combinations we talked about, or even get creative and experiment themselves.
Now that's a delicious thought. So, as we wrap up our deep dive into the fascinating world of soy milk, I want to leave you with this. Considering all the ways we can enhance soy milk and all those potential benefits that go beyond just the basic nutrition, what new possibilities can you envision for the future of plant-based foods? The future of food is in your hands.
Such a great question. With a little curiosity and some scientific know-how, we can make a world where delicious and healthy go hand in hand.
Until next time, happy exploring.